Hi, my name's Renee and I'm a trainer with Series Services. I work at the First Impressions Clothing Exchange business, which is a shop run for women by women, and we sell second-hand clothing here to the community, amongst other things. We deliver quite a few programs here normally, and at the moment we're doing them sort of via Zoom or remotely through FaceTime or whatever sort of platform suits you. And some of these programs I'm going to be talking to you today about are our interview ready workshops. So here at FICE we run a few workshops that help a prospective candidate become job ready through the starting point of a resume, cover letter, interview tips and tricks, transferable skills, and right through to the successful application of the job process. So I'd just like to talk to you today about I suppose being job ready and just give you a few little handy hints and tricks, and all of this information is available on Series website. So if you go to seri.org.au under training, then you head to First Impressions Clothing, and we have this information which is downloadable and printable, or you can send a private message through our socials, which is First Impressions Clothing on Facebook or First Impressions Clothes on Instagram. So anyway, let's begin. So let's start with how to create a successful resume. So firstly, a resume can be defined as a summary of your experience, education, achievements and skills. So if you're not confident maybe in doing a resume or putting one together, we're here at FICE, we can help you with that. If you are confident doing that but just not sure about the correct process because things have changed over time, then you might find these tips helpful. So did you know that you have 10 seconds to capture the reader's attention? You have 30 seconds to gain further interest, and a total of 2 minutes for them to want to read your resume and put it in the yes pile. So it's not a lot of time. So your resume needs to stand out, not to be too long and not to be too short, and obviously be relevant to the role that you're going for. It's my personal opinion that you don't send the same resume out for every single job you're going for, because the resume may not reflect that role. E.g., if you're going for a retail role and a hospitality role or a sales role, you're going to have to adjust that resume accordingly to be able to capture your potential employer's attention to make sure it fits the skill set that they're looking for. So for every, say, 20 resumes that you send in, you'd be hoping to at least get an interview from 2. So you want about a 10% return on every resume that you send in. And if that's not happening, you really probably need to have a deep dive into your resume and look at what the information that's on there and how relevant it is again to the role that you're going for. So the length of your resume really probably shouldn't exceed 3 pages, and probably going back 10 years is suffice. Again, it really depends on the role you're going for, but it's recommended by industry that 10 years is enough. Text should be in standard fonts such as Arial or Calibri, no bigger than say 12 for your normal text, and maybe your headings a bit bigger at a 14, maybe a 16, but that's about it. You really want to make sure that you have no spelling mistakes, no grammatical errors. So make sure you're doing your spell check, or even get a friend or a family or a trusted colleague to read over your resume once you've done, just to sort of check for those kind of mistakes. All seems pretty sort of straightforward, but it's surprising how many people really don't check for that and the layout. There's lots of resume templates that you can access for free, so just be careful. Some sites you might get to the very end and they charge you, so just really be careful if you're downloading off the internet. Again, here at FICE we have templates that we can assist you with, and if you do have Word on your computer, there's lots of free templates in the Word documents. So some other information just in outlining your resume is don't put anything discriminatory on there, such as age, sexuality, religious beliefs, etc., because that can be used against you, I suppose, when you're applying for a job. You don't know the background of anyone who's reading your resume, so you just want to keep it as straight to the facts as possible. I suggest that you don't pop your address on your resume either. This again can be seen as discriminatory based on distance. If you are applying for a local job, you might put the suburb, for example. So if you live in the Yarra Valley and you're applying for a job in the Yarra Valley, you can put your suburb on to show and highlight that you are local. But if you are maybe applying for a job a bit further afield, you potentially would leave that information off because you could be knocked out of the potential interview poll just by the fact of how far you live away from a particular workplace. I suppose the other thing is if you don't have a consistent work history, things that you might want to include on your resume is if you volunteer, if you've been a part of a sporting club or a mother's group or a kindergarten board or committee, you've been involved in some charity work, that sort of stuff. That's really essential information to put on your resume. And you can also do a skills-based resume. So if you've had some time off caregiving, you might have taken some time off to raise children, that sort of stuff, but you've had a work history prior to that, you can do a skills-based resume where you can highlight your skills maybe in customer service or hospitality, retail, that sort of stuff. And then you're sort of not highlighting the fact that maybe you've been out of work for 10 years, you're highlighting the skills that you have and can bring to a current industry or workplace. So they're the sort of things that you can include on your resume and that you should include on your resume. And I know that it's difficult times at the moment and COVID has changed the current platform, but I suggest that if you can volunteer while you're unemployed, that is something very worthwhile. It's a skill set that you can put up on your resume. It shows that you're active and in the community and you are trying to secure employment, but in the meantime building on skill sets to help with that employment. So if that's something that you can do now or look into doing in the future once the COVID platform changes a little bit, it's something I definitely recommend and great thing to put on your resume as well. I'll just now talk about the sections of your resume because your resume has a few sections if you weren't sort of sure if you haven't done a resume for a while. Again, this information is available on our website and I won't talk into all of the sections, but basically you would start with your contact information, which is your name, your email and your phone number, and then a career objective or a career profile. So this basically gives the reader some understanding as to why you're applying for the job and the skills that you would potentially bring to the job. And it doesn't need to be very long, maybe 4 or 5 sentences at maximum. So a career objective or a career profile, as I was saying, it should never replace a cover letter, but it's just a bit of an introductory into your resume and into your interest and role that you're applying for. The next part would be your skills and attributes. So again, you want to make sure that your skills and attributes that you list on your resume, and up to 12 is fine, 8 to 12 skills and attributes, they line up with the job that you're going for. Obviously, you don't put a skill or an attribute on your resume that you don't have, but definitely look at the job that you're going for in the job description and look at the skills and attributes that they are looking for and make sure that if the ones they're looking for, if you have them, that they're on your resume so that the person reading your resume can see that you're a good fit for or a good candidate for the job. Next you would put your experience summary, so that's in chronological form, so what you're doing now and where you're working and a bit of a brief description of what you do in that workplace, and then your past work history after that. Then you would pop your education and your qualifications down. So if you've completed Year 12 or done a certificate 1, 2 and 3 or something, right through to a first aid qualification, a food handling qualification. It is really important though that you don't put a qualification on that has expired. For example, if you you've done first aid but it has expired, you can't put that on there because it's expired, it's no longer relevant. So that's just a little note, a side note to take into consideration. And also things like working with children's checks, you can put all of that in this section. You might want to put some achievements down, you know, if you've been nominated for Employee of the Month, the year, or you've finished a school and you graded, you know, top in the class, or you've done some achievements in the local community, that sort of stuff. You can definitely put that in, especially if it's relevant to the job that you're going for. And if you're going for a casual job or maybe a part-time job, you could put your availability down, especially if it's a casual job, just to show when you're available. You don't need to put that down if the job is stating set hours or it's a full-time job, clearly. And the next section would be to put your referees down. Now, there's a couple of different trains of thought on this. Some people put their referees and list the people there. Others put available on request. I personally like to put available on request because I might have 3 or 4 people that I have in mind as a referee going for a job, and you want to chat to your referee, obviously ask them if it's okay still for them to be your referee. You want to tell them about the job that you're going for, tell them about what you've been doing recently, and just make sure they're in your corner, so when the potential employer rings them, they've got all the relevant facts in their mind. You've had a chat to them, they know that there's a call coming, and you know they can talk about you in a positive light, and they're not sort of caught off the back foot. So that's just a little tip that I would consider when just popping, whether you're going to pop the referee on your resume or leave it off your resume. Yeah, so that's basically some really great hints and tips in how to format and write a resume. If you want access to this information, it is on our website at siri.org.au, or you can email us or PM our page for further assistance. But hopefully this just gives you a bit of an insight and a few thought starters to get you going on writing your resume, or if it's been a while since you've updated it, maybe it's time to update your resume as well and just have it ready, because you just never know when that next job might be coming your way. Thank you.